Imagine a country that once ruled over a quarter of the world, its empire so vast that the sun never set on it. But today, that same nation is teetering on the brink of an economic collapse with skyrocketing debt, surging homelessness, and a crumbling healthcare system. What went so wrong for the UK, a country that was once the most powerful on earth? Stay with us as we unravel the mystery behind Britain's downfall and how its decision to leave the European Union triggered an economic crisis that few saw coming. This red-marked island you are observing is known as Great Britain, the United Kingdom, or simply the UK. Currently, this nation spans just about 94,000 square miles. A century ago, however, it ruled over one-fourth of the globe, stretching from North America to Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and beyond. This coin circulated from Asia to Australia. Few empires in human history have reached such heights that the sun never set on them, but the once mighty nation now faces an immense economic crisis. As of 2024 statistics, the UK's debt is 99.5% of its GDP. In comparison, neighbouring Ireland's debt is only 43%, while Germany's is 64%. Gang-related violence and homelessness are at a 30-year high. Over the last decade, homelessness in the UK has risen by 50%. Wages that once attracted talent from across the world to London have remained stagnant at 2008 levels for the past 16 years, while inflation today is at its highest in 40 years. Thousands of skilled workers are fleeing the UK in search of better salaries. Shockingly, 10 million people in the world's sixth largest economy live in extreme poverty, with 2 million Brits going hungry for at least a day every month. Without London, the UK is as poor as Mississippi, America's poorest state. The NHS, once a global model of healthcare, is now in such a dire state that 8 million people, even those in critical condition, are on waiting lists. It's not just healthcare. Every government department, from law enforcement to transportation, is in crisis. The UK is now the worst performing developed nation in the world. A few days ago, the country was literally on fire, with people setting vehicles ablaze and throwing stones at houses. Even Elon Musk tweeted that a civil war is looming in the UK. What led to this downfall of such a powerful country? What blunders did Britain, once the ruler of the world, make that have brought it to this crisis? Let's explore. This story begins in 2016 when the UK made the decision to leave the European Union. On June 23, 2016, a referendum was held in which 50% of British citizens voted to exit the EU. This moment marked the start of the UK's economic decline. The process of the UK leaving the European Union is referred to as Brexit. Now, it's essential to understand the historical context of why and how the European Union was formed. After World War II, European countries realized that if they continued fighting among themselves, their resources would be exhausted in building armies and securing borders. Looking at a map of Europe, it becomes evident that the countries are both small and interconnected. European leaders recognized that continuing to function as independent nations would perpetuate internal conflicts, hampering progress. Hence, in 1952, 6 countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, came together to form the European Coal and Steel Community, aiming to significantly boost their economies. This collaboration proved highly beneficial for them. After World War II, for instance, France needed coal and steel to rebuild, and Germany provided these at affordable prices, reducing France's costs. Meanwhile, Germany found a nearby buyer for its natural resources, cutting transportation costs. Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg similarly benefited from access to the shared market, and by trading without taxes or conflicts, their economies grew rapidly. Witnessing this success, other European countries also began joining the community, and by 1993, 12 countries were part of what had become the European Union, now the most powerful organization in the world. The greatest advantage of EU membership was the freedom it provided to European citizens. They could live, work, and start businesses in any EU country, and goods could move freely between nations without tariffs or fees. For example, a furniture seller in Greece could easily sell products in the UK without paying extra taxes. Additionally, as part of the EU, each member state had more clout when negotiating trade deals with non-EU countries. The UK benefited greatly from these advantages, but eventually chose to leave the EU for three key reasons. First, the UK felt it wasn't benefiting as much as other EU nations. For example, between 2012 and 2016, Europe caught 7.5 million tons of fish in British waters, while the UK caught just 90,000 tons in EU waters. In 2013, the UK contributed £17 billion to the EU budget, but received only £6.3 billion in return, making the British feel exploited. Second, immigration became a major issue. With Eastern European countries like Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary joining the EU, many immigrants from these poorer nations flocked to the UK. This influx strained public infrastructure, jobs, and wages. Furthermore, the civil wars in the Arab world in 2010 led Europe to open its doors to Arab refugees, many of whom also moved to the UK. This increased immigration led many in Britain to blame the EU for their problems. Finally, a sense of sovereignty began to take hold, with many Britons believing that the UK could make better decisions on its own, without the EU's influence. Despite the 2016 referendum result, Brexit has had disastrous consequences for the UK economy. According to the Bank of England, investment in the UK fell by 25% between 2016 and 2021. This situation worsened with the arrival of COVID-19 and the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. The UK was spending heavily on supporting Ukraine while facing energy sanctions that prevented it from purchasing oil and gas from Russia. Furthermore, the UK's trade suffered a major blow after Brexit, as the EU had been its biggest trading partner. Before Brexit, 48% of UK imports came from the EU without customs duties. But after Brexit, those goods faced new restrictions. In 2020, the UK signed a free trade agreement with the EU to remove these barriers, but by then, the damage had already been done. The UK's reliance on a service-based economy made it especially vulnerable to financial shocks, such as the 2008 financial crisis, which hit Europe and the West hard but spared manufacturing economies like China. Manufacturing creates more jobs than services, which is why the 2008 crisis led to massive layoffs in finance and IT, while companies producing everyday goods like soap and water fared much better. Brexit also caused a severe labour shortage in the UK. In 2024, there was no funding available for 30,000 nurses, and healthcare services were in disarray. To make matters worse, no European country felt compelled to help the UK because the nation had willingly chosen to leave the EU. Jobs are scarce, inflation is soaring, and frustration is growing among British citizens who are sometimes taking out their anger on immigrants or foreigners. This level of crisis is unprecedented in the UK. Wrong choices and selfish motives have led Britain to this state. Given the current situation, it's possible we might witness the collapse of the once great British Empire in our lifetime. If you're keen on staying updated about the UK's evolving economic crisis and understanding the deeper impact of global events, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let us know in the comments what you think the future holds for the UK and whether Brexit was the right move. Plus, click the bell icon so you never miss our latest updates on this pressing issue and other global affairs. As of October 2024, there have been new developments. Recent reports indicate that the UK's inflation has reached a record high of latest statistic, further complicating the economic outlook. Additionally, the government has announced new austerity measures to deal with the mounting debt crisis, but public protests are intensifying across the country.